Hi everyone, and welcome back to my tiny house in the forest. Here in Denmark we have been blessed with sunny spring weather for days, almost a week now. So it's the perfect timing for doing work in the garden. Which is quite fortunate because I have a lot to do out here and also on the property as a whole, which is what I will be talking about in this video. So for the entire spring I will do many different kinds of projects in and around the house, and in this video I'll try to give some context for these projects and even outline a to-do list for the year. Because even though it may look like many different projects, in a way they are all small parts of a bigger project, namely the rebooting of my entire homestead, where my dream is to live a more self-sufficient life engulfed in the nature around me. And now with the arrival of spring, it's not too early to get started with the rebooting of my garden. If I want to get any crops out of it this summer, that is. And as you can see, I've been busy cleaning up the space in front of the house by removing the trunks and the branches from the oak trees that I took down in the autumn. And then I piled them up on the eastern perimeter of my garden so that they can decompose and turn into nutrient-rich soil in time. Because on this homestead, it's all about turning waste into resources in circular energy loops. And with all of the branches gone, it will soon be time to establish my new permaculture garden in front of the house. However, first I needed to complete another very big project on my spring to-do list, which is rebuilding the fence that previously kept the deers from feasting in my garden. But this winter they ate all of my cabbage over Christmas because I'd taken my fence down in October when I moved out the old tiny house. So in March I re-established the old fence and installed a gate in the corner, also to keep Bossimat on the inside of my property. However, it only lasted for a couple of days, because Bossimat totally forgot that it was there, so in a speedy Gonzales round trip he crashed directly into it. Now the gate is pretty wobbly and twisted, and with a snout-shaped dent in the wire. I also built the fence out to the north, so that I have the west side of my property completely enclosed. And as you can see, I burned the poles for the fence. It's to prevent them from rotting. Actually, the way that archaeologists in Denmark determine the location and the size of old Viking longhouses is to look at where there are still burned wood remnants in the soil from the corner posts of these buildings. So burning the wood makes it last for a pretty long time. And also the soil on my property is almost pure sand, so the water quickly drains away from the pole, and there are therefore not many bacteria and microorganisms in the soil to feast on the wood. Then I also rebuilt the beds in front of the fence, against which I will later plant fruit trees like apple and cherry. Furthermore, I did a lot of cleaning up on the property by driving a lot of building waste to the recycling station. Here I could retrieve a lot of free garden compost, which is totally a thing here in Denmark. This will play a vital role in the rebuilding of my garden later on. So now that I more or less completed the fence out to the meadow, I thought that I wanted to give you a small tour so that you can get somewhat of an overview over the projects that I have in store for 2025. Starting with the porch, which is this area in front of the house. So I will make a porch here when I start building the terrace for this front side of the house. But before I start with that, I will need to start building the greenhouse on this side of the house. But I think I'll start with that already in April and then slowly be starting with the terrace as well. And then come next week, I will start designing the kitchen garden, which is a very big thing because it will kind of determine how the rest of the property will be. And then maybe also a smaller greenhouse next to the garden and also a compost station over there. And then I have my old kitchen garden, my old forest garden here, more to the west of my property. I will need to reboot that as well because as you can see, there are some very tall trees to the west, and it means that in the afternoon I get quite a lot of shade in my old forest garden. So the new garden is actually much better situated in terms of getting sunlight in. So I'll need to totally rethink my garden plan. But I think one primary objective will be that I will plant more perennial crops in this old garden because they can deal with the shade a bit better because they have a much more established root system. But right now it just looks very messy, but I'll create maybe like smaller hugel mounds or smaller beds that utilize the space here in the garden much better. So I'm really excited actually to make this new design for my garden because one of the primary objectives for my entire property is of course for me to produce a lot of food and be as self-sufficient as I possibly can. So in order for me to do that, I need to use much more space, like I need a bigger garden really. And then on the back side here on the house, I will have my cold room on that side, just behind the corner. And I think I'll build out the cold room in summer when I've built out the greenhouse on the south side of the house. And then I'll just take it slow with the cold room and have it ready for October when I will need to take in all of the potatoes and carrots and whatnot from the garden. So I should be done in October with that. And then over the summer, I think I'll also establish kind of like a fireplace and a tent area over there, because when I have guests, then they can just like camp there if they're not dwelling in the house or in the annex. So, and then walking up to the northeastern end of my property, I have my car and actually also my old tiny house, which I will also sell. So I'll need to spend some time on making it ready. But then come maybe November or December, I will start building the carport on this end of the property. So that is the final big project for me to be doing on my property this year. So yeah, as you can see, I have quite a lot of projects going on, but yeah, in a funny way, I'm really excited about all of it. And now I can take it like at my own pace because I'm not too much in a hurry. Maybe with the cold room in the autumn, but it's not too bad. So right now I think I'll take a walk in the forest with Bossy and collect some herbs because I have some wild deer meat from a deer that I chopped up last winter. And I think I'll try something new and make a new dish with that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and maybe even found some inspiration. See you again next time.